from nothing to everything, nothing to everything, from zero to
infinity.
Almost infinity. All right, it took only 200 years from 609 to 809. All right, from zero to almost infinity, from nothing to something. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about a religion. I'm talking about Islam, which is a monotheistic Abrahamic religion. Monotheistic mean believe in God. Only one God.
Mono means one, theistic means God.
Okay, so now when you talk about Islam, we talk about religion, all right? And story has to begin with Prophet Muhammad, because he was the founder of Islam. So before we start talking about Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam, we just want to remind yourself a most important thing, and that is number one, Islam became non-existence to biggest political power, biggest religion, and biggest empire within only 200 years. 609 to 809, these 200 years, Islam from nothing, from zero, to become the largest religion at that time, the largest political power at that time, and the largest empire at that time. So when we talk about
today.
yes, that's true. But when we talk about Islam, we actually talk about Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad was born in 570 AD. Okay, he was born in Quraysh tribe. So at that time,
They were very
the Arabian Peninsula was notoriously known for two things. Number one,
worshipping the
Number-
Mesopotamian.
number one, if you're talking, that means you are not listening. Okay? Number one, at that time, the Arabian Peninsula was notoriously famous for many things, but two of the main. Number one, tribe, and number two, worshipping to many gods. Okay, so Muhammad was born in one of the most prestigious tribe in Arabian Peninsula named Quraysh. He was born in 570 AD, as I said. His father was Abdullah and mother name was Amina. However, he lost his father and mother at 6-year-old, became orphan at very young age. His grandfather took over him. His responsibility. His grandfather name was Abdul Muttalib, and they became friends. After the death of Abdul Muttalib, his uncle became his guardian. But the study of Islam actually began in 609, when he was about 40-year-old. As he was approaching, so Muhammad was a caravan. He was a merchant. He was a businessman, married to a very wealthy woman named Khadijah. So as he was approaching 40, Muhammad somehow became a type of a philosopher. He spent most of the time thinking in a mountain cave called Hira. In 609, when he was sitting on a stone thinking, an angel met with him. 609. The angel grabbed him. Gabriel. And the angel told him that the God sent him to meet with Muhammad because the God decided to reveal the guideline, which we now call Quran, through Muhammad. It was December 609. Muhammad was freaked out. He came home. He got fever because he was really freaking out. He told his wife Khadija, and Khadija started encouraging him. And instead of freaking out, Khadija told him that the God chose him because he was a good man. So the inspiration actually came from home, from his wife, Khadija. So it took Khadija 3 years to counsel Muhammad to accept the mantle of being prophet. So in 612 or 613 AD, Muhammad revealed in public that the God has been revealing holy words we now call Quran through Muhammad via Gabriel. Now, the people, especially the Quraysh tribe, did not accept the preaching of Muhammad for many reasons. Number one, as I said before, the people in Arabic Peninsula was worshipping multiple gods. Now Muhammad.
So let me guess. They were angry that Muhammad was promoting the new monotheism concept.
Right, only one God. The concept of one God is bad not only for people, for believers, but also it's bad for business purpose. The Mecca was the center of business, and the people came to Mecca once every year for pilgrimage, and the merchants made good fortune because it was an occasion to create lots of gods, making lots of money. So they did not like the idea of being one God. So Muhammad was under attack. He was forced to leave Mecca. He migrated to Medina, which is so important in Islam that the Islamic calendar call it the year zero. This computer is dying. Okay. While he was in Medina, Muhammad not only established Islam as a religion, but as soon as he established Islam as a religion, he focused on the political aspect of newly created religion, Islam. Soon, Islam not only turned to a big religion, but also turned to a biggest political force. Muhammad realized that it was time to return to Mecca. So Muhammad and his followers defeated the people in Mecca. So the whole Arabian Peninsula now under one religion and one political force called Islam. It was kind of new. Jesus had no country to rule. Jesus was just a religious figure. Moses had no country to rule. Moses was basically a religious figure, but Muhammad was both a religious and political figure. Now, Islam is known for many good things, but I'm going to only mention 3 things. Number 1, it freed the slaves. Number 2, it gave women rights. Before Islam, women had no right. If you know about Roman Empire, you would know that the women had not only no rights, but also the men treated women as slaves in Roman Empire. But Islam was the first religion and political system that gave women right. Not only that, it freed the slaves, and it puts lots of importance on education. So these 3 things are the main contribution of Islam. It is Muhammad often criticized by critics that he was a womanizer who had 14 wives. Well, this is not true. If you research his life, then you would understand that yes, he had 14 wives, but the last 13 wives, he married them at very old age. He died in 632 at the age of 62. Muhammad lived 62 years. So 13 of his wives, he married them
into the last decade of his life.
at the last time of his life, not for any sexual purpose. He married them to give women a higher social status. Most of the women he married were old, 70 years, 80 years. So he married so many women to give them higher social status, to tell the people in Arabian Peninsula that
Muhammad can marry such a poor woman and such an old woman, anybody can marry anyone.
if Muhammad can marry a widow, then anybody can marry a widow. If Muhammad can marry an old woman to give her a shelter, then anybody can extend that generosity. So people who have this misconception that Muhammad had 14 wives because he was a womanizer, it's not true. Okay. Other misconception is that often some Muslims also believe in this misconception. If you die in jihad, you go to heaven and you will get 72 virgins. That's not true. In fact, the Quran doesn't support that. The Hadith doesn't support that. They're talking about Quran revealed during 22 years of Muhammad's life, from 609 to 622. This 22-23 years, the God sent
was 1213 years.
609,
To 622.
632.
632.
Yes.
Oh.
That 22 to 23 years, God sent Gabriel to meet with Muhammad to reveal the holy word. Now we call Quran. Okay? So the Quran gave Muslims 5 pillars. We call them Shahada, Salat, Zakat, Siyam, and Hajj. Shahada is faith. Faith in only one God. The Muslim recites multiple times a day. There is nothing but God, and Muhammad was his last prophet. Namaz. Muslim people pray 5 times a day. Zakat is one of the humanistic aspect of Islam that force rich Muslims to help poor people. Siyam. Muslim people fast 30 days during the month of Ramadan. And finally Hajj. Every Muslim make a pilgrimage at least once a year to Mecca. So the Islam is not only based on the teaching of Quran, but also Muslim people often refer to Hadith as a guideline of their life. The Hadith, Quran is the word of God. Hadith is the word of Muhammad. However, not all Hadiths are correctly sourced. For example,
the 72 virgins one was incorrect.
72 virgin ones can be found in one of the Hadiths, but it was not correctly sourced. For example, the Akbar said it, for example, but Akbar learned it from Abdul learned it from Moinul learned it from Joinal learned it from Hassan. So many, it did not come from direct source, it came from indirect source. That's why not all hadiths are correctly sourced. So be careful. That's why so many Muslims are very careful when they use hadiths as their everyday guideline. But they follow Quran as their everyday guideline. Now, lastly, I'm going to talk about the death of Muhammad. Muhammad died he was born in 570 and he died 632. He lived for 62 years. There was no vacuum created upon his death. It's because, according to Quran, Muhammad was the last prophet. So there was no religious vacuum created upon the death of Muhammad. However, there was a political vacuum created.
So they started the Caliphs?
Yes. So there start Caliphs. And the first Khalifa, second Khalifa, third Khalifa, and fourth Khalifa. The first Khalifa was Abu Bakr. He was,
It's the Caliph.
in English we call Caliph. In Arabic we call Khalifa. The first Caliph was Abu Bakr. He was the father-in-law of Muhammad. He served the Caliphate for 2 years. And then he was replaced by, upon his death, Umar became the second Khalifa. Umar ruled for 10 years. And after Umar, Uthman became the third Khalifa. Umar was assassinated. Uthman was assassinated. Uthman ruled for 12 years. Uthman was assassinated, and then Ali became the fourth Caliph. Ali ruled 5 years. Ali was the son-in-law of Muhammad. Ali ruled 5 years, but unfortunately Ali was also assassinated.
God, all the
Now-
major political figures are being assassinated. Wow.
Now, back to the main point. The Islam emerged 609, because 609 was the year when Gabriel met with Muhammad, asked him to recite the name of God, and Muhammad started reciting the name of God. Within the next 200 years, Islam became nothing, non-existence, to number one religion, number one political force, and number one empire. Islam also paved the way for the mathematics and science revolution. It was Islam.
Didn't it also pave the way for the Western Renaissance?
Western Renaissance as well. It was Islam who created algebra. Al-Khwarizmi was a Muslim. It's the product of a Muslim man named Al-Khwarizmi.
Also created the sign of it.
As the people in the audience said that it also paved the way for Western Renaissance, that is also true, because it was Islam, Muslims, who translated the Greek mathematics and Greek philosophy, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle philosophy to Arabic, saving them. And that philosophy and mathematics paved the way for Western Renaissance. So, when we talk about Islam, especially in the United States or Europe, people often take it negatively. It's like Pavlov dog and sound. When you create sound, Pavlov dog immediately realize that there is a food that would be served. Immediately thinks. When we talk about Islam, especially in the United States or Europe, the people often think that Islam associated with terrorism, like the Pavlov dog and food and sound. This association is due to the bad deed of few Muslims. You cannot blame a great religion because of bad deed for few Muslims. Now I'm gonna invite two people from audience to join the conversation, to join the dialogue, to help us spot the misconception and help us remove this misconception.
Subscribe to Bari Science Lab to fall in love with math and science, especially programming.